welcome everyone that's on. We're going to give it a few more minutes to see, give it a few more minutes for a few other folks to join us. We're doing live through Zoom, and we're also going through Facebook on the screen. But we'll give it like 1 or 2 minutes, and then we'll start the presentation because it's a beautiful day, and we want to educate people and get them moving. If there's something else they need to do this evening, they can get to it. So, Dr. Sokoloff, you're at UMass in Worcester.
Yep.
So we're almost done with that building, the NERB,
Yeah.
the new education and research building.
It's looking beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful building. It's almost looking at that building, you wouldn't even believe what was there before, the garage and the bridge connecting the Lazar building.
Yeah.
It's
No, absolutely. And I think there's a grand opening, I think in June with the
yeah,
Secretary General of the World Health Organization, something like that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a big deal. Yeah, the middle of June. I think it's like June 10th or something like that.
I know it's on my calendar somewhere, but yeah.
All right, so we'll just get started so that yeah, we'll just get started with the program. Welcome, everyone. My name is Fred Taylor. I'm the president of the Worcester branch NAACP. I want to thank you for joining us tonight for this very important educational program about prostate cancer awareness. I want to thank the folks that are going to work with me tonight to provide this presentation. It's a very important issue for people in America, specifically. Black folks are affected more than anyone with prostate cancer. You'll learn more about that. You'll also learn about some of the things you can do to prevent it. There are females that are on the call. That's fine. We welcome you. We appreciate you joining us tonight. This information isn't only for men. It isn't only for Black men. We want you to take this information, absorb it, and share this information because this is all about saving lives. That's why we do this presentation, and that's what it's all about. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Thomas with AdMeTech.
Hi, my name is Thomas Sathavazet, the Director of Operations and Health Policy at AdMeTech. I just want to thank President Taylor for our partnership over the years. I know that a few years ago, Dr. Stern and I made, when we had a conversation about doing grassroots events with awareness, we prioritized Worcester as being one of the top priority areas. And we're very happy not only that we have a partner in the Worcester NAACP, but other organizations like Change and supportive of the legislature, especially the Worcester delegation. So we've always been very appreciative, take what we're saying seriously to advocate for the men that we care about in our lives. So we're very happy that we have this great partnership. We do this event annually, and that it is making an impact. So we're happy that our good work and our hard work is making an impact and people are listening.
Yeah, thank you. So at this time, I'd like to start the presentation. I don't really see any elected officials on right now. We have a lot of champions that have really helped push this forward. I don't see any of the state delegation on, but I'll just let you know that we really appreciate the help. And as they come on, I'll introduce the folks that are that have supported this in the Worcester delegation. Senator Michael Moore has been a really good champion for the last, ever since we've been doing this. Senator Robin Kennedy, who's a new senator, has been very supportive of this. The state representatives delegation, Mary Keefe, John Maloney, Rep. O'Day, David LaBeouf, and Dan Donahue have been very supportive of this organization and this program. We really appreciate their help. Some of you may not know that we get public funding from the state, and without our delegation supporting this program, we wouldn't have the opportunity to provide this helpful information, this life-saving information to everyone that's able to get this information. So as I see, I just got a message. Senator Kennedy is on. She's on the live streaming, so unfortunately we can't see her on the screen right now. But thank you, Senator, and everyone else that's supporting this. Thank you. We really appreciate your help with this. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Stern.
Hello. I would like to join Thomas in thanking you, President Taylor, for your partnership for so many years. I also would like to acknowledge another community partner in Worcester who joined us, Lova Kaligo, founder and president of Community Health Awareness Network Growth Equity or Change in Worcester. It was we prioritized Worcester, as Thomas pointed out, because several years ago, Worcester has some of the highest mortality in Black men and the highest disparity for several years. And thanks to partnership with Worcester NAACP and LOVA, and of course, University of Massachusetts, Dr. Sokolov, we would not have been able to actually see this kind of difference. So thank you, everyone, not only for partnership in this event, but the profound impact we have seen of prostate cancer awareness and clinical care equity program in Worcester County. I will ask our team member, Julie Satterthwaite, to please play my video. After so many technical breakdowns at different events, we started recording presentations of our video. I will be joined in my presentation by Emma Coyard, who is our manager of prostate cancer equity program. Julie, if you do not mind starting the video. My name is Faina Stern. I'm a physician and president of the AdMeTech Foundation, a nonprofit organization leading regional, national, and global programs in prostate cancer education, research, public awareness, advocacy, and clinical care equity. Dr. Mitchell Sokolov of UMass will describe recent advances in patient care. The main topic of my presentation is our prostate cancer equity program and its mission to bring the cutting-edge advances in patient care to Massachusetts men and eliminate health disparities. Prostate cancer equity program is an integral part of the AdMeTech's ongoing statewide program in prostate cancer that created a Massachusetts model of national leadership in public awareness, medical education and research, and clinical care equity. We are grateful to the Worcester delegation to the State House who made this program possible. Our primary focus is on high-risk men, Black, Hispanic, and Latino individuals, and all men with family history of prostate cancer and increasing age, 50 and older. This program was initiated since 2013 in collaboration with multiple organizations and has 4 components: public awareness, community education, prostate cancer equity and clinical care, medical education, and research. Our public awareness campaign, community education and outreach, is focused on the most vulnerable and underserved individuals. Since January 2023, we reached over 15,000 underprivileged individuals. This is a 50% increase compared to what we reported last year. Since 2019, our public awareness and education program reached over 52,000 people. For public awareness and education, our messaging is centered on the importance of screening and early detection critical for saving lives. Early detection is particularly important for Black, including Hispanic men, who are 2.5 times more likely to die compared to white men. With early detection of prostate cancer, every man is alive in 5 years. In sharp contrast, with late diagnosis, when cancer is spread to other organs, only 28% of men remain alive at the same time. The center of our medical education is AdMeTech's annual Global Summit on Precision Diagnosis and Treatment of Prostate Cancer. The latest 7th annual conference took place in September last year. Our summit has been recognized as a seminal event in shaping the state-of-the-art and future vision for patient care. Our summit brings together the key international experts representing every clinical expertise to review the best emerging clinical practices and research priorities. Last September, we had over 300 physicians participating during this event. After the event, our media partners published over 60 scientific presentations and reached over 35,000 physicians across the globe. It's difficult to find any corner of the world that has not been reached by this event. Our summit showed that equal access to high-quality care is the key factor in improving patient outcomes for all men and eliminating health disparities in Black men. It is particularly important now with so many novel diagnostics and therapeutic approaches ensuring high quality, personalized, precision patient care. Without equal access to these advances in patient care, we will see a widening gap in health inequalities, including survival and mortality. Consequently, AdMeTech launched the Prostate Cancer Equity Program in Massachusetts in collaboration with Mass General Brigham, UMass, and other clinical institutions, with the mission to save lives and deliver high-quality care to all. Supporting organizations include Latino Health Insurance Program and multiple NAACP branches located across the state. Any Massachusetts man age 40 and older can participate. Our priority focus is on Black, Hispanic, and Latino men who are at higher risk of prostate cancer, delayed diagnosis, poor quality care, and death. Our goal is to expedite access to leading experts who use the most advanced approaches to screening, diagnosis, and treatment available today, and to support men every step of their medical journey. This program helps men to find an expert for the initial or a second opinion, in-person or virtual visits. We strongly believe that our Prostate Cancer Equity Program, integrated with our large-scale public awareness campaign, has been placing Massachusetts in a strong position to become the first state in our country to eliminate health disparities. Experts of the Prostate Cancer Equity Program can address any questions about prostate health, from assessing an individual healthy man's personal risk of cancer, to informing men about all available options before and after screening, biopsies, and treatment. We are committed to supporting men during every step of their medical journey to ensure that no man is left behind or struggling alone. To achieve this goal, we created a streamlined VIP-style process of patient referral and care, reflecting how doctors involved in this program take care of their families and friends. This process consists of three components. 1. AdMeTech Foundation's team members collect basic information and match individual patients' needs with the appropriate state's experts for clinical care. 2. A clinical organization designates a patient navigator to expedite a medical visit and related needs, including scheduling, registration, transportation, any insurance, and financial assistance if needed. 3. If an expert recommends any next steps, AdMeTech's team and patient navigator work with men on the appropriate follow-up, such as testing or treatment. I'd like to share with you a few recent examples of how Prostate Cancer Equity Program has been making a difference. This is a case of a Black man with a history of prostate cancer who is currently being treated. In mid-May, on May 15th, his doctor informed him that his scheduled treatment could not be provided due to problems with his insurance coverage. This man got upset and shared his situation with Representative Bud Williams, chair of Legislative Black and Latino Caucus, and the leader of the Men of Color Health Awareness, or MOCA, our community partner in Springfield, who referred him to us. On the late afternoon of May 26 last year, right before the Memorial Day weekend, he contacted us and appealed for help. Our primary goal was to restore his treatment as soon as possible, and we immediately reached out to Dr. Mitchell Sokolov and his team at UMass and secured their support. On May 30th, right after Memorial Day, UMass Urology provided guidance to this man how to address his insurance issues. By Friday the same week, on June 2nd, about 1 week after he came to us, the insurance issue has been resolved, and the appointment with Dr. Sokolov was scheduled at the earliest opportunity in early July to resume his treatment. The following Monday, on June 5, a MOCA leader heard about what happened and asked for a second opinion for his own urologic health issue, and received an appointment with a leading urologic expert within a few days of his request. Another Black man, an immigrant from Africa, was referred to us by the Community Health Awareness Network Growth Equity, or CHANGE, our community partner in Worcester. This man, who was at risk of prostate cancer, had no insurance. We appealed to Dr. Sokolov's team, and UMass obtained a mass health insurance for him within 24 hours and organized consultation with Dr. Sokolov within 2 weeks. Dr. Sokolov recommended biopsy and further care. Emma Couillard serves as a manager of the Prostate Cancer Equity Program. Emma is assisted by Erin Roberts, program coordinator, Greg McClay, a patient educator, and other members of the AdMeTech Foundation's team. When you come to us, Emma will work with you, our team, Mass General Brigham, UMass, and other clinical partners to expedite medical visits and address any needs you may have. Our team may not be able to right every social wrong that cannot be resolved by federal or state government, or provide perfect solutions for every man. And yet, we are committed to doing our best and making sure men are not left behind or struggling alone. If you have any questions about our program or need assistance, please contact Emma by phone, 617-523-3535, or by email, coordinator@admetechfoundation.org. Thank you for your attention.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Couillard, and as Dr. Stern said, I'm the manager of the Prostate Cancer Equity Program. So if you call us, I'll be the first person you'll be speaking with. Our program supports men through every step of their medical journey and works towards eliminating health disparities. And our goal is to make it so you are informed and educated and empowered to make the best possible decisions about your life and your health. This program is important because so many social and health inequalities are determined by things that are outside of individuals' control, and this leads a lot of people to not be able to live healthy or long lives in ways that are really unjust. So this program tackles all that head on, so you don't have to deal with scheduling, translation, transportation, insurance, or any of the annoying parts of the healthcare system. I handle all that for you in coordination with patient navigators at institutions, and we don't want any of those things to be a barrier to you when you're trying to seek care for something that can be really scary and challenging. So now that you've heard a little bit about the program, I'll just end with a call to action to anyone who's listening. If you have any questions or concerns about yourself or your family or any of your friends, please reach out to me. I stand ready to help you in any way that I can. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stern. Thank you very much, Emma. That was great. Incredible stories. It was really good to hear those stories, real life stories. I'm sure everyone on the phone or on the call right now familiar with Springfield. It's really close to Worcester. To hear that story, and also to hear the story about something that happened here directly in Worcester. Really good, touches home. And it's really important that you laid out that you'll do the best as you can do to help folks. But you can't guarantee that you'll be able to solve every issue to try to make things right with anyone who contacts you. So that was really good information. Thank you, Senator. I want to welcome Senator Kennedy. Senator Kennedy made it on. Also, Ms. Flores, our Director of Communications, is on. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, David. Also, David Coyne's with us. This time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Mitchell Sokoloff. Dr. Sokoloff is a professor and chair of urology at University of Massachusetts Medical School, the Chin Hospital. And so at this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Sokoloff.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to speak. A lot of our good friends online with us, such as Lovo and Dr. Stern. All right, so we're going to talk just for about 10 or 15 minutes a little bit on prostate cancer diagnosis and management and how this really relates to our community here in central Massachusetts. And the background, I think we all know, is that prostate cancer is very common. There are a variety of management approaches which depend upon the aggressiveness of the cancer, its volume, and the patient's need. But it is a very, very, very common cancer, especially in the African American community. This is the most recent data from the American Cancer Society. Almost 300,000 diagnoses every year in the United States of prostate cancer, and about 35,000 men will die of prostate cancer. So while we've made a lot of inroads in the treatment and early diagnosis, there's still a significant proportion of men who will die of prostate cancer. For the state of Massachusetts, about 6,500 men diagnosed this year in our own state. What are the risk factors? Well, aging. As we get older, there's an increased risk of prostate cancer. Family history, having a brother, a father, first-degree relatives can increase the risk 2 to 3-fold. African American and Afro-Caribbean men have a very, very high risk of it. Is an inherited gene that can increase prostate cancer risk. There are a lot of other genes that just happen to pop up in people's genetic material that can do it. Lifestyle, poor diet, lack of exercise are all associated with an increased risk. And then there are a host of environmental agents. You think a lot of Agent Orange, smoking, other toxins like that. And those are really the risk factors that we see. Although anyone as we age, anyone as we get older, I'm 60, I had a strong family history, but I was diagnosed with prostate cancer in the past year. It can happen to any single one of us. Unique considerations in Black men, men of African descent, Afro-Caribbean descent. One, prostate cancer tends to be diagnosed later in the course of the disease, often due to access issues, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. The incidence of prostate cancer can be as much as 2 to 5 times higher in the Black communities. Black men tend to be at risk at baseline. There are some higher lab values, such as the PSA screening test, testosterone, and this can often influence how to interpret screening processes and diagnoses. Within the prostate itself, there are different zones. There tends to be a higher incidence of prostate cancer in what's known as the anterior zone of the prostate. It's kind of the more difficult area to biopsy and diagnose. So it's possible that even with the most modern technologies, you can miss some diagnoses. And then most likely due to access, there are lower rates of definitive treatment for men of color. Now, when it comes to management, it all starts with an accurate diagnosis. You start with screening. You want to make sure that we're targeting that right patient population. I already mentioned some of the high-risk groups, family history, men of African ethnicity, men as we get older. Those are the men who you really want to target and make sure that they're getting screened. Then, and this is very, very, very apropos to the AdMeTech Foundation that Dr. Stern is part of, we usually start very simply with the PSA blood test, but there are a host of new diagnostics, of new molecular tests, and you can provide a whole host of these to help determine who's at risk for prostate cancer, who has the higher likelihood of being diagnosed, so we can avoid unnecessary tests. And then again, very apropos, the precision diagnostics, the most effective, the most suitable combination of laboratory x-rays, pathologic tests to put together so that we are really treating the patient as best as possible. And in this little box, we want to remember the underlying goal. We want to eliminate cancer, and we want to maximize the elimination of cancer and the symptoms. We want to improve survival, but we also want to decrease the side effects and toxicity. So there's a balance that we look at as providers of we don't want to overtreat, we don't want to undertreat, We want to find that happy medium. And prostate cancer really has been a success story in the last several years with newer studies, newer treatments. Screening tends to start on the left side of the slide with the prostate-specific antigen or the PSA blood test. It's a blood test that's very simple to have. We can evaluate various levels of it to help differentiate men who might have prostate cancer. The finger exam, the digital rectal exam can also identify abnormal prostates and can be a very useful adjunct to the PSA. And if both of those are suspicious in any way, we can do a biopsy. This is an example of what's known as fusion biopsy, about 5 or 6 years now, where you combine MRI, ultrasound. You have a much better ability to target tumors, decreases false negatives, increases accurate diagnosis. It's called fusion prostate biopsy, and that's usually where the diagnosis is made. I did 5 of them today in clinic. Each procedure took about 10 minutes. You use local, so none of the men were particularly uncomfortable. I know that it's going to be a very accurate test for those men. We'll get the results within about a week, and we'll know whether or not they actually have cancer or not. Very complex slide or two, but this is what happens once there's a diagnosis. If you look just at the top line here, people with prostate cancer can have localized disease, meaning it's contained within the prostate. Fortunately, this is what the majority of men have, and this is where we want them to be because this is extremely curable. Locally advanced disease means that it's starting to spread to the tissue around the prostate. And then lastly, metastatic disease, meaning there's been spread to other parts of the body. So the whole idea of screening is to try to shift this as far to the left as possible so that when men are diagnosed, it's localized, it's curable, it's very treatable. Once we have that localized disease, then we further differentiate into what's called risk stratification, low risk, intermediate risk, high risk. What's the risk of this progressing? What's the risk of this metastasizing? We have lots of features to play in. There's this little circle on the left, blood tests, exams, biopsies. And then based on that, we can determine, okay, what's the best treatment for someone? We have, the same sort of circle of low risk, high risk, intermediate risk. And then we can identify, okay, what other tests do we need? Do we need any extra imaging? Let's really talk to the patient, make sure we understand where they're at, their family's at. And then lastly, determine which of the following treatments, surveillance, focal therapy, surgery, radiation, are going to be best for that patient. This is a process. It's not something that happens quickly. We meet with patients, we go through things maybe once, maybe twice. We give tons of information on this so that when a patient ultimately decides on that treatment or that management strategy, we know they're going to be knowledgeable about it, they're going to be comfortable about it, and hopefully have no regrets once treatment is over. These different treatments, we sort of stratify them. We use depending on how extensive is the disease, how aggressive is the disease, how old is the patient, how healthy is the patient. Obviously, younger men have a longer life expectancy, and you might be a little more aggressive on treating it. Different people have perception of cancer and the different treatments. And you want to take that into consideration. And then, obviously, the stage of disease, how much, the aggressiveness, how aggressive it is, all of those play a role when we will now determine sort of what are these best treatments. So what are those treatments? Well, we want to determine who's going to benefit. Starting from the least invasive to the most, we have surveillance or observation. This is probably 50 to 60% of men with localized prostate cancer, where we say, it's early. At this point, it's not deadly. It's not a huge risk to your health. Let's watch it. Let's observe it. I have a slide on that, what's involved, but we can monitor it. And if and when it gets a little more aggressive, or if and when we get worried that there might be a risk of progression, we can then treat it more aggressively. Focal therapy has kind of been a holy grail. It's coming of age in the last 3 or 4 years. What this means is let's treat just the part of the prostate with cancer in it. The traditional therapies, surgery, radiation, and other types of ablation treat the entire prostate, radical treatments. Focal therapy says, all right, let's treat just the area with cancer and therefore decrease the side effects. Surgery, radiation, these are outstanding treatments, but they're aggressive. We're either removing or radiating the entire prostate. And as a result, there are going to be a lot of side effects. And then for that unfortunate minority of men who might present with spread, systemic therapy or metastatic therapy, there are a whole host of agents. The mainstay is to decreased testosterone or androgen production. That goes back to the 1940s. Huggins and Hodges, who got the Nobel Prize for that. We have drugs that can target various growth receptors, tumor deposits with actual destructive agents, or a whole host of agents, so that even someone who presents with metastatic disease can often live for 10 or 15 years with that disease with very effective treatments. So let's talk about the most common ones that we see. We'll start with surveillance. This was coined by the Canadians about 20 years ago. Active surveillance with delayed intervention. You're taking a patient here on the left with very low risk characteristics, lower PSAs, normal exams, biopsy with what's called a score, less aggressive. And we say, let's just monitor it. Let's observe it. We'll intervene if and when it gets worse. So we do a series of every 6 months, they come in for a blood test. Every year we feel the prostate, and then we do periodic biopsies every so often, usually a year out. And if things stay the same on the left side of this circle, we just monitor it. We don't have to intervene. I would say this is probably 60 to 70% of the men I biopsy, and of those men, 40 or 50% can be maintained on a procedure like this for 5 or 10 years without any sense of progression. So this is what we like to do. This is what we hope to do. We keep a very close eye on our patients, but we intervene only if and when they need it. This next slide is a slide on surgery. Nowadays, it's all robotic. This is removal of the prostate. There are lots of different models of the surgical robot. They're all made by the one company. This is a very common approach. I do about 3 robotic prostatectomies a week. This is for men who we do worry that the cancer may grow or spread. We have different, like I said, different robots by the same company that can be a little bit more or less invasive. Excellent treatment for younger men, men who might have some underlying urinary symptoms. It's really the gold standard. Right up with it is radiation. This is not removal of the prostate. Instead, it's killing the prostate and the tumor with radiation. And again, treatment of the entire prostate. You can do an external beam on the left where you lay down and we kind of beam the prostate from the outside. You can implant little seeds in an outpatient procedure. They work internally to cause the prostate to shrink and die out. Both outstanding treatments, both surgery and radiation, very effective and very commonly used if we are a little bit more concerned of someone perhaps progressing or dying of their prostate cancer. As I mentioned, focal therapy is kind of the holy grail. We started our program about 16, 18 months ago. HIFU, or high intensity focused therapy, really came of age in the last 2 or 3 years. Small outpatient procedure. We use ultrasound, you can see on this little right insert, just to heat part of the prostate that has cancer in it. A lot less side effects because you're only treating the cancer itself. Still have to follow up on those patients, but it's just a much less invasive approach to treating some of those earlier prostate cancers that you don't want to just watch, but at the same time, you don't feel the need to remove the entire prostate or radiate the entire prostate. And those are kind of the 3 big advances, the big treatments we use. One thing that has come of age in the last 3 or 4 years is what's known as PSMA PET scanning. PSMA is a very special protein made by the prostate. In the last few years, we've been able to use that as a target for imaging. It's an excellent test to see if prostate has spread beyond the prostate. So you can use it for that initial diagnosis with the biopsy. You can use it for men who are diagnosed to make sure there hasn't been spread, or even after treatment to make sure there's not a recurrence. And it's a test we use quite frequently to help monitor our patients. For advanced disease, this is the metastatic disease I talked about. This is when cancer spread. On the left side, you can see all of those approaches to decreasing testosterone and androgens. These are the mainstay that we start with, and they do a great job of suppressing the cancer, can hold it in check for 5, 10 years. And then you move on to the right side, the second line agents, where you can interfere with other molecules, other growth factors. I don't even have on here some of the immune-based therapies. But again, you can successfully keep a patient in remission for many, many years, even if the cancer has spread. Our goal, obviously, is not to get to that situation. It's to diagnose and treat the prostate cancer earlier when we can really eradicate it and cure it. Last couple of slides I wanted to talk about was access. You heard a little bit about this from Dr. Stern. Central Massachusetts, we're located, really does have a high number of expatriate African and Afro-Caribbean communities. The immigration to this area is very, very heavily African and Afro-Caribbean, and then obviously American-born African-American populations. These reflect patterns from countries that have the highest incidence of prostate cancer, and these tend to be underserved populations where access can be challenged by social and political determinants of health, just overall awareness and education. I'll put a shout out to Change and to Lovo for a lot of the work she does in some of these communities of getting the word out. These are a little bit outdated slides. At really the highest rates of prostate cancer incidence, the highest rates of prostate cancer death were in Black men in Central Massachusetts. In the last 8 years, we've decreased this a little bit. Things have shifted more to the western part of the states, but Worcester has always been an area where prostate cancer incidence and mortality has been significant, and that's been a real motivating factor for the equity programs and other programs we do. So the Prostate Cancer Equity Program described by Dr. Stern, it's a network of centers of excellence, Mass General, University of Massachusetts. We've tried to take this one step further, working with AdMeTech Therapeutics, mechanisms so they can get access to our care. You've heard about how we can reach out to some of the communities and get men to see us at the University of Massachusetts or at MGB, trying to collect data to make sure we're doing ongoing improvement and enhancements as we do it. We've tried to take it one step further, working very closely with AdMeTech. Actually, President Taylor, you wrote a letter of support for a grant we just put in with the Movember group, as did Lovo, where we're trying to further those that outreach using our community partners, the NAACP, Change, using our own digital medicine within our medical records to try to predict, can we identify men who might be at an increased risk of prostate cancer, men who might not have the access that they need. We have a series of, we're creating a series of lectures, conferences, multicultural and multi-institutional, multi-language, multicultural educational activities, library of audience-inclusive educational webinars. These are all things we've been working on, using the digital medicine, trying to come up with navigators through the electronic medical record where men and their families can help navigate through the system, dashboards for us to better understand how we're doing on identifying patients, and then continuing education for patients, physicians, providers to make sure everyone is as up to date as possible on prostate cancer screening and treatment. President Taylor, you mentioned very early on prevention. So while you were talking, I put in a real quick slide. The best two things to prevent prostate cancer are diet and exercise. And as I tell my patients, that diet that's heart healthy, what you think about for good heart health, less carbohydrates, less fried foods, less fatty foods. You can augment that with green teas, a little bit of red wine, which has resveratrol. Tomatoes that are cooked have lycopenes, soy products like tofu, and a good balance of multivitamins. That's a very well-known way that one can intervene in your own diet. Exercise, half hour a day, just something aerobic, whether it's walking, doing steps, doing whatever. Those are the best things you can do to prevent it. And then obviously it's that access. It's that making sure that you're getting to see people for screening. It's a very curable and treatable disease when it's diagnosed early. We want to personalize and individualize that treatment. We want to help at the academic institutions, whether it's MGB, UMass, Boston University. We can really provide guidance and treatment because we really specialize in this. And then the last slide is just a little bit about our own department. We have lots of different people. 3 of us specialize in prostate cancer. We really are motivated and committed to improving the health of our communities. That comes from the top, comes from Eric Dixon, our CEO. Our strategic goals of the institution are to improve our community and the health of our community. And with the Prostate Cancer Equity Program, with what we can offer through diagnosis and treatment, we really feel that we're helping to really improve the health of our community. So with that, I'm going to stop speaking, Mr. Taylor. I'm going to give it back to you. But thank you for the opportunity to speak. And as I mentioned, those are how we approach it here at UMass.
Thank you. I'd like to pass my serve over to Thomas.
Thank you, Fred. We'll open up the floor for questions. I know that Dr. Sokoloff will be leading the Q&A. So if
Perfect.
anybody has any questions, time's now.
Can I please mention something, Thomas?
Oh, sure, Dr. Stern.
Dr. Sokolov just described very exciting recent advances in diagnosis and treatment. For prostate cancer equity program, we chose teams like Dr. Sokolov and his colleagues to make sure that men will get the best care available today. And Dr. Sokolov and I will be happy to address your questions. But before that, Senator Kennedy, would you like to say a few words from your perspective? You are our champion on the Hill.
Thank you. You are the champions, and really, I'm just so grateful for this conversation tonight to be able to join you to listen in. Incredibly impressive work. I even look at just some of the work and advancements around robotics and the surgery that you're doing at UMass. I just really appreciate it, and thank you to NAACP in Worcester and Fred Taylor for your leadership on this, and happy to continue to serve in partnership. Continue to serve, and want to acknowledge and thank you to the great work and the work around prevention and education, really, that we've seen the numbers of mortality numbers going down in our region. And so we want to keep that up until we can get to zero. So happy to continue to work with you and listen to you and understand what we need to do to support that. So thank you so much. And thank you to everyone else that's joined in.
Thank you for your support, Senator Kennedy. And at this point, we will be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I had a question, and please, I hope someone else has a question or two. So my question is about the PSMTA. That testing, that imaging, is that only for people who have already been diagnosed for prostate cancer, or is that anyone can request that through a normal?
So at this point, it's most insurance companies, including Mass Health, use it for someone who's been diagnosed to either make sure it hasn't spread. Also, if someone's been treated, to evaluate for recurrence. Often someone has surgery, someone has radiation, there can be a little bit of a rise in the PSA, and this helps define whether or not it's a recurrence. There have been some wonderful studies out of groups, a lot of the people who Dr. Stern works with, showing that combining it with the biopsy itself, the original imaging and the biopsy, might be very, very beneficial. I don't think that's quite been approved by the insurance companies yet, but I would imagine that in the next couple of years, you'll see it shift earlier into that diagnostic phase instead of just the post-diagnostic phase.
Thank you.
I'm available for questions. I don't know, can the people on FaceTime get to us?
I'm on.
It's really exciting. I was giving a talk to the residents as we wait for questions. So please, people, raise your hand and chime in if you have a question. But I was just, I'm in that part of my career where I can now sort of look back on all the milestones that have happened. And, the real big pushes in prostate came in the late 90s and 2000s. That's when institutions really put their money, their resources, there was improvement in the treatments. And, now 25 years later, I finished training in the 90s, mid-90s, 97, we really see the fruition of that. We see less aggressive treatment, less side effects, more effective treatments. I look back at the original radiation therapy that was given at Stanford. I was a Stanford medical student and undergraduate. And people really, there were side effects. People were burned because, they didn't quite know how to really target it well. Now we've got such beautiful machines where things like that are different, the incontinence, the erectile dysfunction from the treatments, which was ever present in the 90s, is much rarer now. And it's really been fun for me as I'm now looking back on a 30-year career of just how far we've taken it with prostate.
And just to mention, to expand to what Dr. Sokolov just mentioned, we have, for decades, we had radical surgery and we have radiation treatment covering the entire prostate. And he mentioned right now for cancer, which is early in its stage, he mentioned minimally invasive focal treatment. And this very much follows the pattern of what we've seen in breast cancer. In breast cancer, minimally invasive lumpectomy, just partial resection of the breast, replaced radical mastectomy with its horrible complications and costs in most women. We believe that in the future, minimally invasive treatment will replace radical surgery in most men as well. And what is important to point out is what it is like for men to have this treatment. First of all, this treatment does not require hospitalization. It is done in ambulatory setting. Secondly, it is administered in such a way that men experience very little discomfort and very few complications, 10 times less complications compared to radical treatment. AdMeTech actually established international working group in minimally invasive treatment. This country and Massachusetts are lagging behind Western Europe in this area, and we are working together with Western Europe, with our colleagues in Australia, to develop strategy to actually expedite transition of this treatment from largely a research stage right now to standard of care. Senator Kennedy?
Thank you so much, and I apologize if you did talk about this. I had to step away for a quick call, missed a few slides. As you know, today the Senate released our budget, so it's been a little bit of a crazy afternoon and evening. But I'm just curious because I had I was fortunate this morning with several of my colleagues to tour the new research building at UMass Chan.
Yeah.
And I just, if you could talk a little bit about kind of what capacity for future research of yours is going to be going into that facility, how there might be some expansion opportunities, certainly so that, I know most of it would be NIH and limited in state funding capacity to support, but would love to see how, in particular in that growth, beautiful facility, it's going to be a great building to work in.
So it is a beautiful facility, and so this follows sort of the trends that both Dr. Stern and I were talking about. Is how do you minimize things? And the new building is going to have the cellular biology, the RNA therapeutics program, gene therapy programs. Obviously fancy medical terms, but how can you treat a cancer with just proteins or target them with genes or something where you could still eradicate a cancer, but you don't have to do the surgeries or the radiation. Sorry, it's my dogs. Surgery or radiation, which has much more mobility. How do you target just a cancer deposit using RNA, DNA, and gene therapy? And our dean is a master at gene therapy. I mean, he's really one of the world's experts. You've got our RNA therapeutics with a couple of Nobel laureates floating around who know how to really target just how do you prevent genes from producing various proteins, or how do you manipulate that? And that's the joy of the new building and the new the way that they've put together various research groups of the old timers like us who remove prostates or radiate prostates. We'd love to put ourselves out of business and not have to do that. Hopefully that answers your question, but that's exactly what that building. It's exactly what the realignments. We're all faculty. I'm a department chair, so we meet every week with the the basic science and the clinical science people. So it's an incredibly tight relationship between the different departments and how do you maximize. It's not just for cancer. I mean, I'm excited about it for cancer, but neurosciences, muscle sciences, there are all these mini institutes there to really improve the drug therapeutics for these different diseases.
And what is important to point out is that when you have precision diagnostics based on imaging, combined with genetics, combined with molecular information, protein-based information, which we call proteomics, as opposed to genomics, etc., you can develop a very individualized patient care management plan for individual patient, because no matter how expensive diagnostics can become, they are never as expensive as treatment, not to mention unnecessarily aggressive treatment.
And the
And-
side effects. You know, I've had prostate surgery. I'm one of those who unfortunately has had prostate cancer. It's not a pleasant experience to go through.
Thank you so much. Lova, do you want to say a few words?
Hi, everyone.
Good evening.
Hey, Lovo.
Hi, Dr. Sokolov. Well, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Taylor for this opportunity. Thank you to Dr. Stern and Dr. Sokolov. It's always good to have a conversation with you, conversations such as these, and also thank you to our Senator Robin Kennedy for being on. It is a true honor to work with all of you, and especially with the end goal being as positive as such, because we've come a long way and there is still a need, but our goal is to continue moving through the community and then just bringing forth the information to our immigrant community, our, BIPOC community, and just trying our best to make sure that individuals get the information as much as possible and getting the information about the PCA program and being able to just create access, because the more people have access to the information and the resources, I believe the outcome will be even greater. So it is a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it. And I want to say thank you from the administration of change. Thank you so much for having me.
Do we have any other questions? All right, so I think we're probably ready to close. So
Yep.
Does any of our guests have anything they'd like to say to close before I close us out?
I'll just thank you again for the opportunity to speak.
All right. Well, as I started off this presentation, I want to say thank you very much to everyone. I appreciate your time. Again, as I said, this is a top 10 day, 75 degrees today, 78 degrees today. It was really tough to come inside and do this Zoom. So thank you. I consider you all warriors for taking the time and doing that. This year, January 31st, I lost one of my heroes to prostate cancer. I spoke about it at the YWCA. We had an event for Black History. I spoke about Joe Madison. Joe Madison, they called him the Black Eagle. He is a civil rights icon. He's a civil rights activist. He left the show in November, and until this day, they're still playing repeats of his show. That's how powerful it is on Urban View. This guy is he's a giant. So we lost him to prostate cancer. And I just want to say that so many fathers, so many sons, so many uncles, and so many brothers are lost to prostate cancer. And it's something that shouldn't happen. It doesn't need to happen. As what was said earlier on this call, prostate cancer is curable and treatable. And for those reasons, we shouldn't lose as many people as we have. It's a testament to the work that Dr. Stern, Dr. Sokolov, Dr. Stern's team, and everyone who does this kind of work. It's a testament to your work that these numbers are going down. We really appreciate it. We appreciate the support of the state delegation, including Senator Kennedy, your big champion. We really appreciate your support, because without that, this information, this education wouldn't be possible. So I want to definitely thank you for that. Earlier, I gave a shout out to the delegation, and I'd like to end with that. Thank you very much. Continue to listen. Think about what you heard today. And the best thing to help people and to help our people is to spread what you heard today. Spread what you heard, because it can save someone's life. I want to give people an invitation. If you're in the Worcester area, on June 27th, we're going to have the Frederick Douglass reading in Worcester. We hope you can join us at 12 o'clock in back of City Hall on June 27th. I have nothing further to say, but thank you very much. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.